Hello, this is Edo Ray from Bix Maven, and this will be the second part of designing a one-page wellness spa website. In the previous video, we looked at the prerequisites, so all the things that are needed to get to this point of the development. So you must think of your copy, think of doing the discovery call or session with the client. Make sure that you know the goal of the site. Make sure you know who's the demographic that you're trying to reach. So, of course, those inform the look and feel. You must know, it will be helpful if the client already has a branding system. So to just make things easier for the design later, and if you already know the demographics, if you know what their problems are, pains, etc., you can then write better copy or have AI write the copy by feeding it the specific contents and all the documents and all the context of the client, right? So that it makes specific copy for them. Yeah, so of course you can always hire a copywriter, which is obviously some clients don't have the budget for it. But the best thing is, I would say, take matters to your own hands. Make sure that you can provide copy and know how to structure a website properly. So that being said, in this video, we're going to look at the design system. We're just going to look at buttons. Sorry, I said buttons. We're going to look at typography. We're going to look at colors and some other stuff, maybe like radius or shadow, but just more like an overview. I will be changing the colors and I will be changing the typography so that you can see how that actually works in the alpha Figma UI kit Figma file. So with that being said, let's jump in. What you can see in front of you is how the typography is set up. So you can see the different headings here, the type skills here. So it goes from 3XL to all the way down to the H6. So these are if you want some bigger headings. And we have the body text, which goes from 4XL all the way down to 4XS. So here you can also see how it looks like. And we have the examples. So here you can see how it would actually look like in a card setting. And here's where you can do the font pairing. So to look at something that's regular, I think we should just look at the H1. So we can look here. And here you can see the different font pairings. You can see the line height, how it's spaced, if you like it or not. So this is a good visual tool to determine which font to use for your project. If the client already has a preferred font, that will make things much easier, obviously. But if you do not know yet which direction you're going into, this will be a great tool to determine which font to use. So if we go to your variables panel here, variables manager, and you might not see this immediately. You would have to go down all the way to font and then family here. So this is where you can change the font family. And in this case, I'm using the Tenor Sans because I wanted a more minimalistic, classic look to it, because that's the vibe that this brand is giving off. And then Opal Sans appears very well with it. So let's say we wanted to change the heading, right? So let's say we wanted copy this and we wanted a font like Sans. You have Sans, or is it Sen? I'm not sure. I think it's Sen. I don't think Sans exists. So let's wait to have to change it everywhere. And this is a huge file, so it might take a while. As you can see, it has changed, right? And you could do the same for the Open Sans, so I can go for DM Sans, right? And it will also update everywhere. So this is a huge file, so it takes a while. If you have a new file, or you don't have all the patterns that we have in this file, it will be very quick. But it has to really change it everywhere, so it takes a while. So as you can see, that's all be updated. So this could also be a potential candidate, right? So this could be a potential font that we go with. Or I just revert back because this is the one I'm choosing. I just wanted to show you this real quick. As you can see how it updates everywhere. So I've added Tenor Sans back and I add Open Sans here. Actually, that Open Sans is also looking pretty good. And we could have also used that one. As you can see, I only changed the desktop mode here. I did not touch the mobile mode, but normally you should always change both. This is just an example, so normally I change it on both because we have also a mobile mode on this project file. So make sure you also change it here. Okay, let's move on to the colors. So here we are at colors. Just put that here. Let me make this smaller. I think it's taking a little bit too much real estate. Too much space. Put this here. Oh yeah, no, just put it here. Okay. So let's move up to the primary. So these are the primary colors, right? And you see the same setup here. We have the names here. So these are all the tokens. And these are the desktop mode and mobile mode. Yeah, in Figma, it's possible to give a different color on a different mode. So once we're in mobile mode, which means it has a certain width, and I would also want it to have a specific color. You can do this for your spacings too. We also have that in this system. So if you are, let me show you real quick. If you are on, let's say, it is not a good example here. So like section spacing on desktop, you have like 32, let's say it's 32 pixels. And then on mobile, it's set to spacing M, which is 24 pixels. So it's smaller, because if we keep the same spacings on mobile, it will squish your content and it will not look good, right? So that's why we did it this way. And by using this system, all the spacing stays within the system, right? Or else we'll be a mobile mode. Or if we do not even have a mode, if we just create like a mobile part of the site, we'd have to input those units by hand, and that will be, it will make it hard to manage our project. Okay, so let's jump into the colors. So changing your colors. I do not have any automatic way of like just changing the primary color and to update everywhere. So there's no system behind it. I think it is possible with obviously using Claude Code. Or Claude, to just obviously connect to the Figma MCP. We can find a way to update these manually, but for now you should just know how to do it by hand, and it's actually pretty quick once you have your color set. So in this case, I'm just going to copy this color. Just give me a second. One color, I'm not going to do it for different colors, or else we'll be here for a while. Normally changing these colors, like I said before, if the brand is like monochromatic or monochrome, it goes pretty quick. So I just change the primary, change the base, and basically I'm done. But if you need a secondary or tertiary color, then it might take longer. And if it's accent color, it even takes much longer. Okay, so let's go to primary right here, and let's say let's go for a blue color. Here, sits around here. Let me go around something in the middle. This is a nice primary color, right? Okay. So once I set this color, I copy it and I paste it also on mobile because I want the same color. I then go to the semi-dark, primary semi-dark. I paste it there, and then I click on the color picker and I go to, this is lightness, and then I just use the arrow down. I hold shift and press it down, so it skips it by 10. As you see, it went from 53 to 43. And depending on how dark you want it, it all depends on you. I mean, you can do it twice, right? In this case, I'll do it twice. And here I'll add it to mobile, and then I'll go back to dark, add it here. And here I'll move it by 1, because I don't want dark to be too dark. And on the ultra dark, I will then move it by 1 again. So this one is really dark, because if I move it one more time, I think we'll end up in black, and that's not what I want. So it's dark now, and then I go back to primary, copy this again, paste it here, and move this up by 2 points. So this is semi-light, paste it here, go back to primary light, move it up by 1, or one tap is like, it's 10 spaces, right? So we move this up, and this one you can, by the way, you can always dial it in. So you see it's 93. I can go to 94, 95, 96, depending on how light I want it to be. So in this case, I'll just do 96. It's not based on set colors, right? So it's all based on feeling, and you can dial it in the way you want it to be. You can always come back and change it. So the colors are not fixed. So your primary color is fixed, but the shades might not be fixed, or if they've already been defined in a branding system, you can just copy those over. Okay, so we go back to the primary and we have to set the hover. So the hover, I mostly go to the saturation, and whether I bump it backwards, sorry, you still need to press the front and back arrow, but this one goes from left to or right or to left, depending on which arrow key you choose. So I can always bump it 10 points up or 10 points down, depending on if I want it to be more brighter or if I want it to be more, more muted. So in this case, I want it to be brighter, so I bump it from 63 to 73, and then I add the colors here, and then I go back to my primary and I just blast it on the opacity. So your opacities will be based on the primary color. You can also choose to base it on the darker color, because I'm not going to make transparencies for all the different semi-dark, because then it will become you have a super long list. Depending on your project, if that is the case, you just have to create those yourself if you want to use the tokens. If you don't, you can just use the gradient to just dial it back in, obviously. But then, yeah, it will not be part of your system. So that is how you actually change the colors. So you can what I just did, if I was not talking, it literally takes maybe 1.5 minutes to a minute to just do this. You just blast through it, set all the colors, and you're gone. So let's say if I'm changing 5 colors, it might take 5 minutes or less to do it. So that's how I set the colors. So I'm just going to put my previous colors back, because I just wanted to show you guys how to set up the colors. Okay, we're back. Okay, so that's the colors. So let's look at the spacing. So all your spacing values can be seen here visually. So you have spacing on desktop and the spacing on mobile, all displaying visually on the screen. So let's zoom a little bit in, and here you can see how every token looks like, right? How large it is. Spacing variables section, content. We also have contextual variables or tokens in this case. So you can see them here, from grid gaps to container gaps. And everything is controlled through your spacing. So you go to spacing and section spacing, you control the units here. I mostly don't touch them, I just leave them the way they are. If I ever need a specific change in the project, I will then tweak it. So I never really touch these. I always change it after I've built stuff and I say, hey, I might need more padding, I change it here. But mostly I keep it same. As you can see, it's based on the 8 units. So it goes from 8, 16, 24, 32. And here there's a huge jump, but it's all within the 8-point system, 64. So I'm just keeping it that way. So you can go in and change your spacing, your section space, and your section padding. Section space is actually block padding, and this section padding is inline padding. So here you can change your content gap, here you can change your container gap, and here you can change your grid gap. And then we have radius. Let's jump to radius. Here you can see the different kind of radius displayed on your screen. It goes from radius XS all the way to XXL, and then we have a circle. So circle is used for rounded corners, and the rest is used for the amount of radius you might want. And here again you can change the unit to fit whatever you're trying to create. And we also have contextual radius specific for images. Box shadow. Let's move on to box shadow. Where's the box shadow? Box shadow. Okay, box shadow is obviously not a token. It's a style. So they're all here on the side. So you can see the different styles, which all you can tweak again by just going to the effect styles here and changing them. You can change them right here. You can change also the color. You can change the blur. You can change the y-axis, the x-axis. You can change everything here. You can change the spread and also how strong the shadow should be. So you can dial all those things in for your own project, and that's where you can make all the changes. We also have icons that can be used. So we have a lot of icons that you can use, and you can basically just take this component, right? So just show you an example. I will duplicate this. So this is now an instance of this component. And in this icon instance, you can go here to swap icon, and you can basically swap any icon from this list. It's a little bit vague to see. I need to change these colors to dark, which will be better. But you can basically also search, like if I say phone, it will just, oops, caps on. But if I say phone, it will basically search. Is it the telephone? I just saw a telephone. Did I? I just saw it on the list. Yeah, here, what is it called? It's call. Oh, it's call. So if I say call, I get the call icons. So if I just click on it, it will change, right? Look. So you can just use this in your projects. I'm just going to delete this. So that's how icon basically works. Logos, I have some placeholder logos which can be used in your projects. You can just here again, same principle applies. You just create, copy an instance, and you basically did I just wait? I copied the wrong thing. That's why I need to copy. And then here you can basically just swap all the brands you have here. And you can also go from dark to light. If you want the light ones, have it. So you have some logo components. And we have a column grid. This is just explaining how the column grid is set up here in this file and how you can actually tweak it, how it works, etc. But basically, if you make any changes to, let me show you, if you make changes to the width, so I have different width set. So your canvas is set to 1920. That's actually the screen size. So in a section, so let's go back to our wireframe. Here I can show it best. So this whole section is 1920 pixels. The container is 1440 pixels, right? So that's how basically that works. Once this, if you go into mobile mode, it drops from 1920 to 480. That's what you can see here. And your container drops from 1440 to 360. So everything has been calculated. All these numbers are not random numbers. They have been calculated to fit your content in the different columns. So we use a 12 column grid. So I'm going to just show you here. If we go to view layout guide, so that's Shift G. So all these, the content can be divided into these columns. So depending on if you want 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, everything will be divided precisely to fit within the lines. So it has all been made that way. So if we go back to our column grid, the reason why this was created is to explain to you how the calculation works. And if you want to use a different kind of size, so in this case, we're using this is the 440 pixel layout grid. So this for your container. This is the current one that we have. That's what I'm trying to say. So if let's say you want to use a 1320 pixel layout grid, right? So this will be changed to 1320 pixels. This is how you should set up the numbers. So you have to change all these numbers to fit. And the same goes for if you want it to be 1270. So you get the same thing here. So I just gave you some numbers, some other setups you can use. So you have to keep in mind that if you change the container width, you would have issues if you ever change the container width. You have to understand how that works. I think I need to make a specific video on that, but that's for another time. So I would advise first, if you're just working with this, to not, if you do not know how it works or understand it, to not touch it, because it will break basically your patterns, right? This will not make sense anymore. So that's because we need to have everything in the system. That's just how it is. Because if I did it without systems, I would just have like elements floating. And I wanted to make it in a way that if you actually change things, it will actually revert to that size, and your patterns will still be looking good. So that's why it's set up that way. Furthermore, there are markers. This annotation that I just skipped over is just basically this is just for the UI. So your column grid lives in a annotation component, right? So this just allows me to add context to, you know, explain to you what it is here and just have a nice presentation of the, especially the patterns that you see. Okay, markers. So markers are basically help you distinguish between components, patterns, templates, and pages within your design system. Each marker uses a unique color to visually label these elements on your canvas, reducing ambiguity and making it easier for designers and developers to understand structure and build consistently. So basically, when we're done with our design, we can label our pages, patterns, templates with these components. I'm going to use them later when I'm done, so that I'm building, I know which elements are components, which elements are patterns, obviously which elements are templates and pages. Pages is quite obvious, but I still want to label them, especially if you're working in a team or you're working with the development team. You want to label and know which is which, right? So that also helps set up your build in a much better, right, to communicate that. Okay, so I've gone through, actually I call them the foundations, and actually the setup is actually done. Like I said, those things I change after the fact, like your spacing, your radius. I just start working, right? And I don't touch anything because I don't know how dark I want the shadows to be. I don't know how wide I want the spacing to be, and I don't know how round the radius should be. So mostly I stick to the defaults, and mostly I don't really change that. I might change maybe the shadow a bit. Maybe I want the shadow to have a little bit of the primary color in it. Maybe it's too black, you know. So things like that I might change, but I don't really make a lot of changes. Oh, by the way, icons, I might also import icons. So in this case, I'm actually going to import icon here, so I can show you how that is done. Yeah, guys, these are gonna be, like I said, this is a different format. And I want to really show you guys how things work. So the video is going to be long, and it's just the way that it is. So I'm going to import these icons because I want to use them later. So here they all are. I hope it did import everything. Okay, so now I've imported all the icons, and I'm now going to put them in I'm going to create multiple components out of them. So come here to the component icon, say create multiple component. So there they are, and I want to put them in a auto layout. So just call this project icons. Okay, so I want to be able to swap out all these icons. So what I do is to duplicate this component, and then I need to turn this. It's already an instance. Okay, I turn this to create. So this is Control Alt K. So this is now a component again, and then I go to properties, instance swap icon, pick an instance which should be the same woman. Yes, and then for the preferences, I just choose all the icons here, create it, and now I need to connect it. So I'll connect it here, swap icon. So now, once we create a duplicate of this, we can then swap it with any other icon. So now we can use this in our designs. This is basically how we're gonna do this. So I'll just create a auto layout here. So this is our project icons use, and then I will add some spacing here. Let's see, give it a background, and now just make this a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit bigger, the biggest. So now I know I can use this one. So this is the one I should come and use, and just leave these. Okay, cool. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've set our icons up, and I'm actually ready to go now. in the next, forgot one more thing. Buttons. So these are the buttons I have now. I'll just leave the buttons the way that they are. So if I ever create a custom button, I can also customize these here. Can make a different design, but I'm just going to leave them here for now. You know, maybe once I start, I might come and maybe change the radius, make it more oval, give it a more oval shape, right? But for now, I'm just leaving it the way that they are. I have single buttons, but I also have buttons in combinations, right? So these can all be changed. So for example, if I make a copy of this, you can change this to a link. You can get stacked or inline or light. So there's different combos, or single, right? So you get this if it's single, if it's light, if it's inline. I guess there's no single for inline, so nothing happens. So yeah, I think I've given a good overview. There are some other things that I will have to show you later, right? Once I'm building, or it might not even be relevant yet. But for now, I think we can move on to the next step. So in the next video, we'll actually start wireframing. So I'm looking forward to that. So I think I will do, I'm just thinking maybe I should do it section by section, or I might just do it at once, because it's the wireframe phase anyways. So we can just do that. Maybe you just one shot that. I guess when we get to the design, we'll basically start going into the nitty gritties. There might be some sections that we have to like really create, because there might not be a pattern that represents what I'm trying to build. So I just want to show you guys how a process can look like. You know, it's not like a linear process, you know, because it's still creative, and you might want to do things that are a little bit out of the box, maybe just a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And I like to explore and try different layouts and structures. So that was the video. Hope you guys liked it so far. Please like, share, comment, and see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.